opportunity. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, sir. Mr. Burr, Dr. Wells, Admiral Stump, the Reverend clergy, Senator Dodd, who I might say was formerly an agent in the FBI, which I'm very proud, and Senator Thurman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed honored to accept the George Washington Award as a manifestation of your confidence in the men and women of the FBI. My associates join me in expressing heartfelt thanks for this recognition. This hallowed ground upon which we stand today is the most meaningful spot in all of America. It is most fittingly the home of the Freedom's Foundation and its vitally important mission. You are stimulating deeper appreciation of our nation's noble past. Due in no small measure to your efforts, thousands of young people in our schools and colleges are developing a better understanding and taking greater pride in the priceless gift of freedom won for us by our early patriots, men of God-given strength and determination who laid the cornerstones for this great nation. Today, as never before, America needs men and women who possess the moral strength and courage of our forefathers, modern-day patriots with pride in our country and faith in our freedom, unafraid to declare to anyone in the world, I believe in liberty, I believe in justice, I will fight if need be to defend the dignity of man. Too often in recent years, patriotic symbols have been shunted aside. Our national heroes have been maligned, our history distorted. Has it become a disgrace to pledge allegiance to our flag, or to sign a loyalty oath, or pay tribute to our national anthem? Is it shameful to encourage our children to memorize the stirring words of the men of '76? Is it becoming opprobrious to state, "In God we trust," when we are proclaiming our love of our country? What we desperately need today is patriotism founded on a real understanding of the American ideal, a dedicated belief in our principles of freedom, and a determination to perpetuate America's heritage. The ringing words spoken in 1850 by that great patriot Daniel Webster in the Senate of the United States are as meaningful today as a creed for those of us who may be in public service as well as for all citizens, as it was then. I was born an American, I will live an American, I shall die an American, and I intend to perform the duties incumbent upon me in that character to the end of my career. These words epitomize the strength of our republic, the determination of American patriots from Bunker Hill to the Wall of Berlin to uphold and to defend the cause of freedom. This historic and hallowed site of Valley Forge is a monument to the true spirit of America. On this ground 184 years ago, a battered but unbowed group of patriots dedicated to an ideal wrote indelibly with their life's blood a new chapter in the history of freedom. Here was born a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, a true brotherhood of man. There must be in America a rebirth of the spirit of Valley Forge. The true strength of our founding fathers did not spring from materialistic ambitions, but from the deeper well springs of the spirit and of the soul. For them, no sacrifice was too great in upholding the cause of freedom. In our nation today, the proper balance between the rights of an individual and those of society is being undermined by two major elements, communism and organized crime, two powerful and dangerous foes. we will underrate either of these enemies, only at extreme peril to all that we have and are. Our nation's crime problem is growing in both size and intensity. During the past decade, crime has nearly doubled across the United States. It is outpacing our population growth by more than 4 to 1. Today in this great land of ours, a vicious crime of violence, a murder, forcible rape, or assault to kill is committed every 3 minutes. There's a robbery every 6 minutes, a burglary every 39 seconds, and 37 cars are stolen every hour. By far the most shocking aspect of this mounting crime problem is the role played by youth. Among youth, there are some of the most brutal, incorrigible criminals in the nation. Nowhere is the tragic failure of American parents more dramatically demonstrated than in police records, which show that nearly 1/2 of all of the arrests for burglaries and larcenies, and almost 2/3 of the automobile thefts that are arrested, are each involve persons less than 18 years of age. We are losing the battle when thousands upon thousands of our youth remain morally unfortified against the temptations of a life of crime. And we are hastening the national disaster when we tolerate weaknesses in the administration of justice, weaknesses which enable repeated undeserved leniencies to be showered upon vicious young thugs, robbers, rapists, and murderers. Teenagers who consistently defy the law must be held legally accountable for their crimes against society. They, like their adult counterparts, must learn that there is no privileged class in America. The America we live in today must awaken to the danger. A tidal wave of lawless tyranny is now surging forth from the criminal and subversive underworlds. It breaks with abrasive effect against the foundations of our republic, our national conscience, our heritage of freedom, the entire cause of decency are being severely tested by these deadly enemies. Crime has a partner in forming the common denominator of a breakdown in moral behavior. It is the influence of godless communism. The forces of communism pervert our Bill of Rights. They hide behind a protective cloak of constitutional privilege while acting to destroy our freedoms. In the eyes of their Soviet comrades, the communists in this country have a vital role in the march toward world enslavement. They are, by Nikita Khrushchev's own description, a valuable arm of the international conspiracy against God and freedom. This deadly international conspiracy now rules more than 1/4 of the Earth's surface and 1/3 of our peoples. Its tentacles reach to the very shores of America where less than 100 miles from our coast, the communist dagger, clenched in the tight fist of a bearded international bandit, strikes at the heart of a desperate people and endangers the peace and security of this Western Hemisphere. In Europe, in Asia, and in our own Western Hemisphere, a steady stream of freedom-loving peoples continue to flee the communist world of enslavement. Nowhere are we more conscious of voices clamoring to be heard than in Cuba, Hungary, East Germany, and other communist-controlled countries, where the embers of freedom continue to burn in the hearts of men, women, and children. At this vital juncture in history, we as Americans face a critical challenge. Khrushchev, Mao Zedong, Castro, and other leaders of the communist world have staked their futures on the belief that an army of slaves dragging their chains can overtake free Americans, some of whom they see dragging their feet. It is not enough to be against communism. We must shed our complacency and aggressively meet this challenge. Do our citizens fully appreciate what they are fighting for? This is the key question. This is the theme which you here at Freedom's Foundation have been so valiantly stressing for years. We are fighting not to conquer, not to destroy, but to preserve and strengthen the integrity of free government, the dignity of man, the worth of the individual personality. We are fighting for the supremacy of law, for the rights of free speech, free assembly, free press, and the right to worship God. The basic answer to communism is moral. The fight is economic, political, social, psychological, diplomatic, and strategic. But above all, it is spiritual. It is a battle of ideas, of diametrically opposed concepts of man. When our forefathers came to these shores, they came to develop a new political principle foreign to the lands whence they came. Here men were to be superior to governments. That is why there can be no compromise with the communists. They are at war with the entire cause of freedom. And the sooner every American faces this fact, the stronger our position will be. America has no place for those timid souls who urge appeasement at any price, nor those who chant the better red than dead slogan. We need men and women with a capacity for moral indignation, men and women of faith, men and women of conviction, men and women with the God-given strength and determination to uphold the cause of democracy. Our freedoms were not won by defeatists, fair-weather patriots who crawl into hiding at the first sign of danger. Nor does our strength stem from the pseudo-liberals of the extreme left, nor the pseudo-patriots of the extreme right. The cause of freedom is not advanced by persons or organizations which make it a fetish to grant our enemies privileges that law-abiding citizens themselves do not enjoy or seek. Nor is the American tradition fostered by those self-professed experts who promote hysteria by distorting the truth and misrepresenting the facts concerning the internal enemies of the United States. We should not minimize the threat and challenge of communism for one moment, but we must guard against the hysterical and irrational approach. Our strength lies in our firm belief in freedom and a determination to maintain our freedom with sound, informed understanding of American ideals and principles. There is still virtue in the old-fashioned American belief in fighting for ideals as well as against evils. In the tradition of the early patriots, we must make our American heritage a living, dynamic, meaningful force. The men of Valley Forge knew why they were fighting. They had faith in an ideal, a faith which warmed their bodies against the bitter cold, which numbed the pain of frostbitten hands and feet, which quelled the gnawing hunger, and which buoyed the spirits of an army far outnumbered. George Washington and his valiant troops fought not for themselves alone, but for generations yet unborn. This, too, is our task. From our shoulders, the mantle of freedom, worn proudly for all the world to behold, must pass unstained to our children and our children's children. No generation ever faced a more vital responsibility. A half a century ago, one of our great presidents, Theodore Roosevelt, warned, if we stand idly by, if we seek merely swollen, slothful ease and ignoble peace, if we shrink from the hard contests which men must win at hazard of their lives and at the risk of all they hold dear, then the bolder and stronger peoples will pass us by and will win for themselves the domination of the world. Our nation was founded by overcoming adversity. From the time of the early patriots, the pioneers, the Civil War, World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, always there has been a challenge for us to meet and to conquer. Greatness won through the challenge of adversity can, however, be lost through inaction and lethargy. Our challenge lies directly before us. The course is indelibly clear. Ours is a just cause. If we have faith in humanity, if we seek God's divine guidance, if we summon the courage of our forefathers, our heritage of freedom will be preserved. History teaches us that we must carefully tend the fires of freedom here at home, for the light of free men will penetrate the darkness of tyranny wherever it exists in the world, bringing hope and trust in our noble cause. We must dedicate ourselves to the principle that freedom under God is man's destiny. We must not only live our lives according to this principle, but also defend it unto death with the courage of free men. Let us live our lives so that we may be able to proclaim to the whole world, individual freedom is our creed, national freedom is our heritage, world freedom is our goal. I thank you.